Hello everyone and welcome to the very first in my Xcode Swift tutorial series. Today we're going to be looking at variables and constants in the Xcode Swift programming language. So open up your Xcode and you want to click Get Started with a Playground. This is your development environment. It's what's going to help you to program using Swift by Apple. So we can call this your name followed by playground belonging to you, and click next, and you want to save that in your Xcode projects folder. If you don't have one, you might want to create one, perhaps a suggestion. First of all, you want to delete the contents of your playground, and if we need anything in the playground, we'll actually import it automatically, but for this example we're not going to require anything. So, variables. What are variables? Well, if you've seen my Python tutorial series, you'll know that a variable is something that we can store a value in, or essentially store a piece of information or data into it. It's like an array, kind of like a list, except it only has one value. Now, a variable's value can be changed at any time. We can reference to it and redefine it. For example, we can have a variable called box, and we could fill that box with information and fill it with different things. We could fill that box with eggs, we could fill it with cheese, we could fill it with supermarket items, household items. We can fill it with whatever piece of information that we want. The number 5, the number 4, the number 3. This variable can have in it whatever we want. A variable can have 3 types: integer, string, and float. But in the Swift programming language, it can have 4 types, which is different from the Python programming tutorial series. So in this course, you're going to be working with integers, strings, floats, and doubles. Now, a double is similar to a float, except it doesn't have a continuous flowing decimal, which is why it's different. So to demonstrate, we're going to create the variable empty. So we can do this by defining a variable using the var command and typing empty, which is our variable name, followed by the type that we want. So in this case, a string. Here you can type in absolutely anything that you want. And now you need to type in its value, so we're going to leave it as an empty value because I don't want anything in it. Now if you look to the right in this little console window type of thing, you can see exactly what is being produced by the console. So the second line of code that we're going to be doing is our welcome variable. So define a variable with the name welcome, which will also be a string, and we will have that equal to welcome to and then your name and playground. So this is the little welcome message to anybody who enters your playground. You can see that it displays everything you've typed in there. Okay. And now we need to do empty, which is equal to the variable welcome, and we're going to print the line welcome. So what is this code doing? Well, let's expand this a little bit. So we're creating the variable empty, which is a string, which is equal to nothing. We can see that it is equal to nothing because nothing is being displayed in the console. Now we could actually do print line and we could print empty at this point, and you can see that nothing would be printed. But how come down here, when we try to print it again, it is actually equal to a value? Well, this is because of the following reason. A variable can be redefined. We can rename it and change it to anything we absolutely want during the process of our programming. So we defined the variable empty, which is a string, and we printed the line empty, which is also a string, which is the same thing I was just speaking about, and that is equal to nothing. So these values are the same. Now this is where we can change our value. We create the variable welcome, which is a string, which is equal to welcome to Jamie's playground. So this is the welcome message that the variable is later set to, because we're saying that the variable empty, which is the one we defined here, is equal to welcome, which is the one we defined after we defined that, and then we're printing welcome again, which is going to print empty. Now I actually did print line welcome, but what I was supposed to do is print line empty, which would do the same thing anyway because we passed it through the variable. So let's add some comments to this so that we know exactly what we're speaking about here, because we don't want to be going off all crazy and we don't want to be, not knowing what we're speaking about. So we're saying that we're defining the variable empty as a type string with a value of nil. So a value of nil because there's nothing as its value, okay? And then we're saying that we're printing the line empty, okay? And then we're saying that we're defining the variable welcome as a type string with a value of welcome to Jamie's playground. Okay, and then we're saying that we're redefining the variable empty with the value of the variable welcome. Okay, and then we're printing the line empty. So now these comments are going to help us. Let me explain this again. We're defining the variable empty as a type string with a value of nil, which we can see here, and then we're printing the line empty, which we've defined here. Then we're defining the variable welcome as a type string with the value of welcome to Jamie's playground, or as your name's playground. And then we're redefining the variable empty with the value of the variable welcome. So we're saying that empty is actually welcome, so that we're filling our box or our variable with information that is assigned to other boxes of information. And then we're printing the line empty. Now we need to understand the significance of why the variable empty here is nothing, but why the variable empty here is something else. This is because variables can be changed. But on the other hand, we have constants. Now constants are essentially the same as variables, except they can only be equal to one value. They can never be changed. The value is always going to be the same. So our box is only going to be filled with eggs, but never filled with milk. It's only going to be filled with eggs, and we can't change that value because we've restricted it to accessing one value. Okay. So we're going to define a let or a constant. So we're going to let and then our constant, which is choosing our constant's name. So I'm going to do con. We could always do empty like we did before, but for this example I'm going to do con with a type of integer and have that equal to the value 1. And then we're going to print the line con. Okay, so we can see that we're defining the constant con, and that is a type integer equal to the value of 1, and then we're printing the line con, which is equal to a type integer of a value of 1. But what would happen if we tried to change this? So, I don't know, let's do con is equal to 5. And as you can see, it says invalid redeclaration of con because we can't redefine a constant. It can only ever have one value, which we need to understand. So let's add some comments to help us understand our programming. So what are the key facts of what we've just learned? Well, we've just learned that a variable can be changed but a constant cannot. And we've learned that a variable is a type of box that we can store all types of different information in. But a constant can only have one type of information in it at any one time. In fact, at all times. And that was variables and constants in the Swift programming language.